Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
Welcome to Making It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Daly, and with me this time around, I have two professionals just here to share their experiences with us on this topic. We have Georgette Baker and we have Kayson Black. And the topic is, what is the role of compliments in work relationships? Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. The matter of compliments at the workplace is not just a good idea, in my estimation, but it is therapeutic. It builds confidence. It's an incentive beyond any pay package. It builds trust, and it gives a sense of being valued and needed. And it's no surprise that this podcast, or maybe it is a coincidence that this podcast is being recorded on the eve of National Compliments Day, which is January 24.
Thank you for having me. I did not know that.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm of the view that compliments is that picker-upper, that morning tea, that little essence of energy that you need, the burst of energy in the morning in terms of an organization. A worker hearing that, it's that tap on the shoulder, that kind of warm. It's even better than a hug sometimes, just hearing someone say something nice to you in an organization to just carry you through that day. So for me, it's something quite effective. And I think it makes a difference in terms of where an employee and how long an employee stays in an organization as well.
Okay. I know there's a slight overlap. I'm going to deal with some that kind of overlapped a while ago. You said it makes a difference in terms of how the person feels, which in my mind speaks to what you said in terms of person feeling needed. Yeah. What about somebody who's listening there saying, but the person is expected to come to work, they know what they're supposed to do. What's this idea about feeling needed?
I personally think that there are unwritten rules in every organization. There are things that you may not state it outright on your job descriptions, but however, you're expecting in some ways that your boss is going to give you that tap on the shoulder, so to just give you that extra boost that you may need to say, you know what, you're valued, you're worthy, you're worth it. And, we expect to just have you here. We appreciate what you're doing. So that essence or a demonstration of appreciation goes a very long way and a very far way as well in terms of the successes of even that organization and not just in terms of the employee by themselves.
Okay.
If I were to weigh on that a little bit, the fact that I'm a mother, by choice, I have chosen to be a mother, but I believe there is a place to feel that my children value me. I'm a wife, but I think though my wifely duties would dictate that I do my wifely duties, it makes a difference just knowing that my spouse or my children value what I do. It probably would not make me stop doing them necessarily, but I think it sweetens it. And if you ask Dennis and Michelle Rayner, who focuses a lot on building trust at the workplace, you'll find that they speak a lot about what you hear and what you feel and how you feel valued, how it builds trust, which we know to be a factor that is very important in our workplace relationships, which is not even quantifiable in dollars.
Yes. Which is a nice segue to what I was going to ask next, which is, you mentioned initially the whole idea that even more than the pay package, just the power, so just how powerful compliments can be. You want to elaborate on that a little bit.
I'll probably go first, Kayson, by just sharing one of a few experiences that I have had where I was complimented and what it meant for me.
Okay.
I remember having a supervisor a few years ago who was quite itinerant, and the individual traveled long and hard and was coming back to work on the eve of a very important appointment at the institution. And things were needed, like messages from the individual, stuff to be in place. And I went ahead and did what I thought was my duty, because as the role I had demanded that I had the person look good. But the person did not just accept it and say, wow, I look good for it. The following morning, I got a letter to say, having come off the plane last evening and seen the program printed with, quote unquote, my message in it, which were so reflective of the very thoughts I had about the event, I had to, again state how much I value your work, your worth, and how much you make the institution better. Because and how I look good, you look good, we all look good. And I have not forgotten it. It's about 15 years ago.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I had a similar experience because I was overseas working once with a very strict boss at the time, I thought. And he'd pass me every day. And at times I thought he barely said good morning. And he would go on. And I just always wondered, does he even know I exist? And it was not until a couple weeks in, or maybe 2 or 3 months in, he passed and he said, I know what you're doing. Keep up the good work. And that meant a great deal for me. You know, it was like his little way of saying, welcome home. And I think that's what the compliments will do for an individual. And that in itself was valued more than just an extra dollar or an extra overtime amount on my payslip.
Sure. We're all sharing, and I will say this. Recently, I recognize sometimes that what people portray on social media sometimes isn't necessarily what's really happening. And I just reached out to a student over the holiday period and I said, how are you? You know, loving that you're looking happy and all of that. And just in reaching out, you know, she was able to say, hey, I'm really not as well as I look, but. And out of that, interestingly enough, she said to me, you know, Miss Daly, you have this ability sometimes to just be able to tap into to know what is really going on and it's not as if I sat down and said, oh, I'm just going to just message Georgette no, it just popped up in my mind, you know? And I thank God to be able to have that ability sometimes to allow the Holy Spirit to use me to just reach out to people sometimes just as they need it. And interestingly enough, that student actually visited me recently and gave me a gift. And it made me teary-eyed because people know how emotional I can get. And I'll tell you why. Because she just reminded me that I am there for a purpose. And she said, there are probably sometimes when I don't think I'm doing enough. But just know that I am touching lives. And I sat and I said, you know, God, thank you for the reminder. Because sometimes we lose track because of some of the other things. And I said, you know, if I'm touching a life, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got that on campus in the work environment. And I'm telling you, it gave me that extra boost to get through the rest of the day.
One of the things I realize is that with the compliments in even a professional environment, it not only helps the person for whom you're giving it to, but for yourself as well, your own development, because I realize that emotional intelligence is something that not a lot of persons would have.
Yes.
And the person for whom is giving the compliment, you realize that they grow not just in sensitivity, but the aspect of them caring about someone. And you know what? You may tap into aspects of a person who is probably losing their own selves. And just giving them the compliment, they may open up to you, and you may just be their own saving grace within that environment. So you never know what just saying someone, you know what, you look nice. Yeah. Or, you know, I like what you said, you know, keep doing this.
What you're doing.
Deed. Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, somebody might be listening and saying, but I am not for want of a better word, the mushy type. How do I then foster this kind of environment in my workplace?
Actually, I do not believe that compliments should be mushy. I really, in a work environment, I believe that they should be sincere and polite, genuine, but I don't think they need to be mushy. I don't think you need to be all over the person, you know, husband, wife's kind of feeling. I think you need to just genuinely say, boy, you're a real problem solver. You've worked through that difficulty today, you know, on the spur of the moment. It's okay to be cordial and civil without being mushy. Because there are some things that I still don't think are appropriate for the workplace. And being mushy, in my mind, is not necessarily appropriate for the professional environment.
So there are ways we can actually be sincere, be genuine, be authentic without crossing the lines of professionalism then in and of itself. Because we tend to grow and we tend to actually help others to grow around us when we actually say to someone straightforward, you know what?
Yes.
You did a good job on this project.
Yes.
Or you know what? I like what you did there and I want to do something like that, or I want to be like that. You know, the idea or the concept in the professional environment is that you're hoping that whatever team that you're on, you're going to be growing.
Yes.
And you're hoping as well that the team is going to be growing. And but at the same point, you're so mindful that it's not on a personal note, but in a professional setting.
Okay. Anything else as we're about to wrap up that you'd like to share in terms of what is the role? We've said several things. It's therapeutic. It's an incentive. It builds trust. It helps people to feel needed. It makes, sometimes makes people more effective, and it makes a difference. Is there anything else you'd want to add before we wrap up this conversation?
I would just add that, and I'm going back to Dennis and Michelle Reyna on building or rebuilding workplace trust, they focus in general on 3 elements of trust.
Okay.
Competence trust, communication trust, and character. And they believe that they are so intertwined that if you're not able to communicate a compliment, if you're not even able to identify the competencies in your worker and the very character that you wish to exude, whether model or elicit from your team members, will not happen. And those are the 3 pillars on which they believe that workplace trust is built, the absence of which will not make a healthy work environment. And therefore, I believe that there is a place for compliments at the workplace, and it makes it not just healthy, but maybe wealthy.
Okay.
The idea of trust and giving compliments is not only allows for you to demonstrate just who you are in an environment, but at times, because of how workplaces are set up, it tends to be absent of demonstrating some person's humanity.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes we understand what the principles are, what are protocols, and what rules we should be following. But then at times, because we tend to be so strict to what the job is, we tend to lose the sense of, or the sensibility or the sensitiveness of who we really are without exposing too much. So the compliments at times show, yes, we're still humans. Yes, we can still be who we are and still achieve the job and be within that same professional environment as well.
Okay. As we're wrapping up though, because a lot has been said, but if you had to summarize or just to say what a 3-step process in terms of ensuring that we have compliments in the workplace, what would that 3-step process be? 3 steps.
Well, I'll go before and I'll just say it's consistent to principle. That's the first one.
Okay.
Know what the expectations are in the organization.
Okay.
And final step would just be understand and be sensitive to those that are around you.
I would probably say be purposeful, be polite, and be proper. I believe I believe if you're purposeful and you're observing your team, you will pick up that people could use a compliment or deserve it. And you're polite, you're not going overboard to say more than you need to say, and you're not being insincere about it, and the rest will fall into place.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have been here, and I look forward to seeing more compliments in the workplaces that we're a part of.
Yes. This has been Making It Last podcast with your host, Noreen Daly. A lot has been said, but I think I'm going to end with PPP. Be purposeful, be polite, and the 3 P's. I'm missing 1 P. Polite.
Did I just say?
And positive. This is a podcast where it's all about having better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't